Hello, people of YouTube. This is Gray's Guitars. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to be talking about more Gibson legal battles. Of course, I know you've heard it all before. Gibson is sue happy. We all know this. But this time it is against Heritage Guitars, which I did not know this particular, argument or lawsuit, whatever, if you will, was happening in the background. So those of you that do not know about Heritage Guitars, back when the Gibson Kalamazoo factory closed, a lot of the employees were given the option to go to Nashville. Well, a lot of them did not want to move. They pulled all of their money together. They actually bought out the factory and they continued making guitars, with different headstocks under the Heritage brand. Basically Les Paul shape, still all of your Gibson shapes, just a different headstock is basically the gist of it. So it makes sense that if they went after Dean, it makes sense that they're going after Heritage for using essentially the same exact body shapes too. So Gibson and Heritage agree to end trademark and antitrust legal battle. Two companies will pay their own legal fees and dismiss their claims and counterclaims with prejudice. So it sounds like they were both kind of going against each other. By the sound of it, Gibson and Heritage have agreed to drop all legal claims against each other after having reached a confidential settlement. However, both brands will pay their own legal fees. In a statement, the CEO of Heritage Guitars and Music Group said of this, "We are delighted that I can't pronounce the person's name, Mengruku Kokunk. I'm not saying that right. Anyway, we are delighted that the matters have been resolved and we can now focus on what really matters, carrying on the tradition of guitar craftsmanship and excellence at 225 Pearson Street," which I'm guessing is the Kalamazoo factory. "We are even more invigorated and committed to continuing to build the world's finest American-made musical instruments for our community of artists and fans around the world." Gibson has been contacted for comment. Heritage was formed by former Gibson employees, yet basically what I already said. Let's see. The high-profile legal case between the two brands began when Heritage accused Gibson of threatening to take legal action regarding guitar shapes, seemingly go against the terms of the brand's 1991 settlement with Gibson. So apparently there was a settlement back in the 90s, which set out the ways in which Heritage could continue to make certain styles of electric guitars after Gibson first accused it of infringement. So apparently initially Gibson agreed to something, and then they kind of backpedaled on that. Heritage also introduced an antitrust aspect of the case in 2021, claiming that Gibson was attempting to monopolize the guitar market through various means, including by cutting ties with retailer Swee Lee, which, like Heritage, is part of a Vital Music Instruments Vista Musical Instruments. In response, Gibson asserted that it was abiding by the terms 1991 agreement and made various counterclaims against the monopolization accusations, and they say this is a developing story. So, basically, Gibson was being sue happy, as they have been. As much as I like playing Gibson guitars, I have never bought a new one, because there's a lot of things. Well, one, I probably don't want. I don't really want to pay for a new one. Because I'm going to end up digging the thing up anyway at some point, so why not just buy a used one for significantly cheaper? At least that's usually what I do. I guess that's not always the case depending on the model of Gibson. Some used ones actually go for higher than their stock prices, especially a lot of those signature models. Buckethead, I'm looking at you. But regardless of that, I don't know where Heritage is coming after the whole monopolization thing, because their Gibson has no conceivable way to monopolize the guitar market. Because there are so many. If they were like the only way I could see monopolization is if they bought out every single American guitar company and they were the only one making guitars in America. Then at that point, possibly, but at the same time, you would then have people, still buying guitars from overseas. They're not monopolizing the shapes. You can't monopolize really the shapes of the bodies too much as long as you change them up a little bit, based on what we saw with Gibson Gibson going against Dean, where we saw basically they didn't go after the guitars that were similar to their body shapes, but they just slightly modified them. They went after the ones that were essentially an exact copy of the body shapes, which to a certain extent, I suppose I can agree with that. But them Heritage coming back saying that, hey, you're monopolizing the market. There's No, I don't agree with that whatsoever. I don't think Gibson is monopolizing the market because anybody can, if they want to, can build themselves a single cut guitar. You can't copy the Gibson headstock, and you probably should slightly modify the body to a certain extent. But other than that, anyone can make a Les Paul style, an SG style, Flying V, Explorer, um, with the Firebird, Thunderbird bass. I have seen plenty of copies of Thunderbird basses. Um, Trying to think what else Gibson makes off the top of my head. I think those are the major ones. If I'm missing any, you can let me know. But I don't agree with Heritage, saying that they're monopolizing the guitar market because that is just blatantly not true. Um, Gibson, on the other hand, also, trying to sue them after they have made an agreement. I reckon it was under a different CEO back in 1991, which is maybe why they're like, oh, well, now we have, different heads, there's different rules, so we're going to go and do this. That may be why they're doing it. Because, an agreement with a past administration may not be the same agreement with the new one, which is probably why they were thinking they could get away with that to a certain extent. But if they already have the agreement, if everything's written in stone, don't agree with that either. By the sound of it, it sounds like they just it's like one of those, we agree to disagree. They're both paying their own legal fees. There's a settlement, which I don't know if we're ever going to see it in the light of day. Most likely it's going to be, we didn't hear anything about Heritage not being able to continue to make what they're making. So they're probably still going to keep doing what they're doing. Gibson is going to do what they're doing. They're probably going to go sue another company. I'm waiting for them to go after ESP. I really am waiting for them because that's going to be a big one. A lot of modern metal players play, ESP LTD guitar, and essentially they call them modern takes. They're basically modern takes on Gibson body shapes. The headstock's obviously different, but I have an LTD. If you've seen my black metal review video, and that is 100% a Les Paul body shape, just slightly modified. There's a belly cut in the back. The horn is sharper. There's a little bit more cutaways. The body's significantly thinner and lighter, but it's still, a Les Paul body shape. It's not a 1-1 comparison, but it's close enough where I can definitely see Gibson going after them in the future too. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, leave a like, and let me know what you want to see for future guitar and music related content. This is Gray's Guitars. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.